All right, so I have bound off the majority of my, we're gonna call this my cowl, even though it's not a cowl. Just so we can get this, show you how to do the very last bit here. And so I'm just doing my super simple bind off. Again, if you want to use a fancier one or a different one that you see online or that you already know, do it. I'm not going to be mad. I just do this way for this cowl because it's the first and simplest way I was taught. Okay, so we're at our last one here. So I'm getting to where I have just the one stitch. Like that. And I've done this in different ways. So sometimes what I do, and maybe what I'll do now, is I'm going to pull it through. So I just kind of go like this, twist it, and I'm pulling the yarn through. Kind of reminds me of like a pot handle. And then, so, oops, there goes my stuff. But then I'll take my scissors and I'll cut that yarn. So then I'll just pull that through. That yarn's done. This one's pulled through. Okay, so now we have our starting yarn end. We have our ending yarn end, and then you'll have, you know, 4 different of your contrast color, your CC yarn in there as well to bind off in there, or not bind off, excuse me, to weave in. So now let's weave in this one. So if you have a better way of doing that, certainly do it. This works for me just fine. So I'm gonna put that end yarn on a needle, and then what I just do is try to figure out how do I attach it so that it kind of blends in as seamlessly as possible with the other. So this is what the bind off that I did looks like on top, which is kind of nice, I think. And as long as you weren't like making it super duper tight, it ends up working great. I mean, it's at the top of your cowl, so even if it is a little tight, it'll look fine. But so pretty much I go here and I'm like, how can I attach this? And what I'm going to do is go into this area of this first one. And I'm gonna see about attaching it like that, perhaps. Let's try it. Yay. And then I pull it to get a little tighter. Okay, cool. And then, so I'm trying to mimic that, the V shape or the heart shape or whatever you call it. And this is the inside of my cowl. This is the outside. So what I'm gonna do now is just stabby stab. Let's stabby stab in here. No, I'm gonna stabby stab in here, and I'm gonna go into the inside of the cowl. Okay, so I know that's not super clear, but again, you're just trying to make it look as seamless as possible. So you do one that way first, and then one this way to the inside of your cowl second. That's what I recommend anyway. You can certainly do it however you want. So you guys will have at least 6 rows of ribbing on the inside, which is actually super helpful. And now I kind of wish that I had done that, because then I could easily show you how to weave in. It's really easy to weave in on ribbing, Because what you just do is, so here's where I ended up. You just go, you'll have these, it's hard to see because I only have 2 things of ribbing, but you'll have like big, like 1 inch at least sections of just this kind of ribbing, which is how I weave in my ends on ribbing. So like I have 2, well, I should have 2 here, but I don't. But anyway, so what I would do is go around those knit stitches like this, and you can't really do it because I don't have 2 things of knitting here. So sorry, this is kind of silly. Maybe I could show you over here, but you would go, essentially, you're just gonna go here, and then you're gonna go around those knitting ones. Ugh, so hard to show. And you would go up the ribbing and down the ribbing at least 2 times. So maybe I could show you on my finished cowl here. We'll just show you on here. Yeah, that's easier. Okay, so if we were, for example, doing it right here, okay? So pretend that our yarn is literally like stuck right here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into this knitted ribbing. I'm gonna go around like this. Oop, and see how I'm just kind of looping the knitted stitches around in here on the inside. And then I go all the way up to the top one if I can. That kind of cut something else, but whatever, it's all red, right? So it's gonna look like that. And then you would pull that through. And then what I like to do is go back down. And so you'll go through the other side, so you can find that first one. That's not the first one, but whatever. Okay, and then you go down. And you're just kind of looping those knit stitches around. And if you are like me and you're like, well, I don't want to end pointing this way, what I then do is just go up through the next one over. So like pull this through, and then just to make it super secure and so that the yarn isn't like ever coming out right here at the edge, because that would be annoying and not look as nice. Then I just come over here and I usually end with a third weaving, if you will. So I would weave into the next door neighbor, and I would go up to where the stockinette just knitted stuff starts. Okay, so I would go up here, pull it through, do a gentle tug, 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 and then what I do is I just cut it right there. Boom. Okay, and so that's what you can do for all of the things that are the ends that are in the knitting, or in the ribbing part, I should say, right? And then if you're trying to bind off up here in the color work section with your whites, with your like white or natural or CC color, for example, it's kind of, I don't know, it doesn't work as easily in my brain, but essentially what you would do is you would just kind of do the same thing but diagonally. So like I go like this, and then like that, and then so I'm kind of going diagonally through, and I'm finding those little bumps, those little things to go through. So I do the same thing, but just it's like a diagonal when you are at the back of stockinette knitting. So I'm just kind of going diagonally through here. And when you do that, like on this other side, it's not gonna be visible. So like even if this was white that I was doing on red, It shouldn't, I mean, unless your stitches are super duper loose, you shouldn't see the white. It should be pretty nice and invisible, because you're just like, I don't know how to explain it. I'm sure others could explain it better. But you'll do a diagonal this way, and then you'll come back and do a diagonal either on this side or on this side, and you can just do the 2 diagonals. That works for some people if you want to be really secure, like I usually do. I usually do 3 like zigzags. So you go diagonal this way, diagonal back down, and then diagonal that way like a lightning bolt, and then you're good and you can cut it off. Okay, so that's how I do that. Let's see, so this is my original cowl, and you'll see this is what the inside looks like. Where I did that's where I ended up going, because I really prefer to do the weaving into the ribbing. It's just so easy peasy. So what I literally did was, this was like my ending white stitch here. And so as you can see, hopefully, you can see I went diagonally through, but instead of just doing diagonals in the ribbing section, or in the stockinette section, I went up here into the ribbing, and that was just like, that was easier for me. And I suppose I could even cut this off a little closer too. And same over here. I just did it like up and then easy peasy. And I don't think I had, there we go. Yep, so I just went up into the ribbing. Just works so much better. And this is, you can see, this is where I finished. Just a little bump there, so really not that noticeable. And I just did my best to make it look like the other ends. And yeah, so that's what the inside should look like of your cowl when you're done. And this is approximately what the outside should look like when you're done. The last thing that it says to do is wet block, which is literally, you don't even have to use anything but water. You stick the whole thing in water for a while. It doesn't even have to be a super long time. Just get it all wet. And then you roll it in a towel, get as much of the water out as possible, and then you let it dry. I just let mine dry flat. I kept it on the towel, or I got it like a fresh towel. I laid it on the towel on top of my drying rack so that it was like mostly flat. And this is how it turned out. So I'm pretty happy with it. It'll say, like, I did mine a little bit wonky, so yours won't look, your 25 won't look like this, or your number at the end won't look like mine, because I fixed it in the pattern. But it'll say Danebod, and then it'll say Hurley, and then it'll say Strikkeklubb, Strikkeklubb, and then you can put the year that you make it, and it just literally means Danebod Cozy Knitting Club, and then you can put the year, and I'll put other year, you know, or numbers in the pattern so that you can change that up. So if you're making it in 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, oh my god, you know, you can do it then. Alrighty, I hope you've enjoyed my little tutorials, and I'll see some of y'all at Danebod this year. Bye.